is all Trump needs to justify widespread pardons to January 6 rioters, something Trump says he'll do his first hours in office. Joining us now is founder of Democracy Docket and partner at Elias Law Group, Mark Elias. Welcome, Mark.
Can I just say, before we jump into the nitty-gritty of this, is that online and in conservative media circles, this report has actually been translated quite differently, saying that it was the FBI who they had people, they themselves orchestrated what happened on January 6th. They were naming the number of informants. They were cherry-picking pieces of this report and putting it into, their news, basically saying that, see, it was the deep state that fueled this. The FBI had people on the ground. The FBI had folks that went into the Capitol. It wasn't Donald Trump and his supporters. And I'm wondering what you think about that assertion.
Yeah, there has always been a fundamental incoherence to the right wing's explanations for January 6th, because it is simultaneously the fact that they say it was a peaceful protest of love, and that it was an orchestrated effort by by Antifa or the FBI or whoever to incite a riot. Right? Like they kind of can't figure out which way they want to go with this, whether there was in fact no riot and all the images you see are exaggerated or made up or AI or whatever, or that they're all real, but that these are all secretly instigated by the deep state and the like. And I think the reason why you have that incoherence is because at the end of the day, they're just trying to discredit the FBI. They want to allow the FBI to be taken over by the likes of Kash Patel, to become a politicization tool of Donald Trump. And what better way to do it than to cast broad, dark conspiracies about the FBI? And at the same time, they want to pardon these January 6th defendants. And so they need to cast them in a light of having done nothing wrong, right? So there is that fundamental incoherence that I think plays through much of what the right-wing media echo chamber says.
So as I'm sure you saw, Mark, you had Trump talking to Time magazine about these pardons. Trump saying, I'm going to do case by case. And if they were nonviolent, I think they've been greatly punished. And the answer is I will be doing that. Yeah, I'm going to look if there's I can't even read this. The syntax is so bad. But you get the idea, Mark. And the thing that we've always talked about is the fact that this is about a future permission structure, right? It's not just about punishment. It is about sending a message to people who would consider doing this again about what the consequences would be.
Yeah, first of all, I have to give Time credit for one thing, which is not cleaning up his syntax. You're exactly right. When you read the words uncleaned up, it's kind of incoherent. But I do think that's right. I think that pardoning the January 6th defendants is about three things. Number one, it is about exonerating Donald Trump, because if in fact they did nothing wrong, he did nothing wrong. Right. Number two, it is about a permission structure moving forward about how they use the power of government, how they use the pardon power, how they use the FBI, how they use the Department of Justice. It normalizes the politicization of the tools of government power from the very beginning. And then number three, which is not something we hear widely talked about, but I want to put a marker down now. I also think that this is going to be the foundation of a new private militia organization. These January 6ers and their supporters are quite well organized, and I don't think it's well really understood in the mainstream and on the left that these folks are going to come out, I think, quite radicalized. A lot of them were violent, not all of them, but they will come out quite radicalized and very loyal to Donald Trump. And you oftentimes see in quasi-authoritarian leaders or regimes, not just the misuse of government power, but the misuse of sort of private militia power.
That raises a very interesting point in light of an op-ed by Politico, Michael Schaefer writing about the January 6th verdict, noting the historical record established by the vast nationwide legal effort can't be just erased by a pardon that frees the convicts. Nearly 1,000 January 6th perps pleaded guilty. More than 250 were convicted in court. Thanks to exhaustively logged footage and voluminous sentencing memos, we now know exactly who did what and at what time and with what intent. The prosecutions turned it into the best documented riot in history. Having said all of that, I think, Mark, you put your finger on the underlying fundamental fact of a new reality that will emerge once these pardons are granted by Trump. And that coalesces and locks in this sort of militia mentality that the rioters now become this force that sits at the beck and call of Donald Trump, should he ask for their assistance in any manner, or if they feel Donald Trump is challenged or put upon in a way that they don't like, they can respond. It is essentially what I note politically Donald Trump did. He took the folks who viewed him over 14 years on television and turned them into the hardcore voters who stand by him. This act of January 6 pardons will do the same in creating, to your point, this sort of private army militia ready and waiting for the beck and call of Donald Trump.
That's right. And by, putting sycophants in positions of high power, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Department of Defense, the Director of National Intelligence. I mean, you can go on and on. By stocking those people very explicitly with people who are loyal to him. I think that some have gotten this analysis wrong. They say, well, but there were other people who were loyal to him who he could have chosen who were more qualified. No. But that misses the point. He purposely wants everyone to know that the only qualification to run the people with badges and guns, the only qualification to run the people who control intelligence operations, the only qualification to run the military is loyalty to him. And he doesn't want there to be any confusion to that. And then, as you say, there will be this outside effort of people who are not part of other militia movements that have other agendas, but rather one that is focused solely on him. And it is that consolidation of all loyalty and power to him that I think is so dangerous. It is that consolidation of power only to him that, frankly, I think too many in the mainstream media are looking past in these discussions. But Donald Trump's not looking past it.
All right.
So there are the pardons to the 1-6 rioters that Trump is thinking about, and then there are the potential preemptive pardons to January 6 committee members that you have the current president thinking about. I want you to take a listen to